Hi, I'm Gina, co-host of Animals and Aquatics. I'm a mom, wife, and adjunct professor in an OTA program. So this time of year is really crazy busy. We are going through finals, which means both the practical final from the lab and also then the lecture exam. So this week and next week have just been really busy with school. The students are coming in with a lot of stress and everything is a little bit chaotic. So getting together and getting everything set for this week has definitely been a challenge. And as we're getting ready to get these students ready to go on to the next portion in their education, I think about my own journey in both the educational setting, but then also in the clinical setting. And it's the beginning of May, so yes, it's finals time, but also this month we're going to be welcoming and celebrating the benefits of mentoring. So, welcome to Mentoring May. The importance of mentoring really became apparent to me early on in my journey as an occupational therapist. I was working with an adolescent who had had an intrauterine stroke, and he was about 80 or 90 pounds at the time, so he was a bigger kid and he had a pretty significant right-sided impairment. And I was using hippotherapy as one of the tools to work with him, and I was really struggling to see the gains that I knew that he could have. And I had tried a variety of things that I knew that typically had worked. We were doing hand over hand weight bearing, we were doing some weight shift to the affected side, we were doing some transfers in the clinic setting. And then attempting to carry that over when we were using equine movement. And I just really wasn't seeing the benefits that I knew that he should be getting. And after a few weeks of really struggling, I reached out to one of my mentors and I said to her, I know that this could be better. And I'm not seeing what I expect to see. And she didn't live near me. She lived a few states away. And I knew it shouldn't feel this tough. A lot of my other clients, I was able to progress them pretty quickly. Things would go as I expected. And with this adolescent, it wasn't happening. And I was feeling frustrated. I was feeling like I was letting the family down. I was having a lot of feelings of like, well, maybe I'm not using the right tool for him. Maybe something else is going on. So I asked her if I could get her eyes on this particular client. And this was back in about 2007, and technology just wasn't what it is today. And so trying to figure out how we were going to do this from a couple of states away, how we were just going to get the information from my treatment session to her and in a timely fashion so that way she could see it and then give me feedback and I could implement it was really, technically much more challenging than it is today. Now we can just sort of whip out our cell phone and then, hit send and I could see it literally within minutes or hours of a treatment session. But back then, we had to record it and then download it from the recording device that we were using and, upload it onto a platform and then share it. But really reaching out and getting help helped me from feeling really stuck. And she was able to provide kind of a step by step look at the client and give me information about what she was seeing going on and give me a suggestion and then I would implement it and then we would look at that and record it. And so we did this for about 5 weeks and then it clicked. Then everything really started to fall into place. This particular client needed more support. And once we got more support for him, then all of a sudden he was able to engage on the right side a lot more. He was able to really accept a lot of the movement that was coming from the horse. We were able to start to engage his right side more. And then I started seeing the progress that I was expecting. So, in this experience that I had, I really understood the benefit of being able to reach out to someone and say, hey, can you take a look at this patient? Can I have your feedback? You've probably seen more patients like this than I have, or you have more experience here than I do, and like, can we just problem solve this together? That really was a key point, a stepping stone for me in becoming confident enough to both reach out to others when I need help, but also to start mentoring others that I had more experience than. I felt confident to say, hey, I've worked a lot with the autism population, and I know that there are other OTs out there that need some help in understanding and translating equine movement into a sensory perspective. I know that there are others out there who could use my expertise. And actually, as that evolved, that has led me to become confident enough to create a trainer mentoring program for AHA. So if you want to be an AHA trained mentor, be sure to reach out. That is something that is available because we believe in the power of mentoring. Now, if you're thinking about outside of hippotherapy in partnering with other animals in an animal assisted therapy setting, that mentoring is still really important, whether it's the type of animal that you're interested in partnering with and bringing into your session, or figuring out how you are going to set up the environment, where do you need to be, or really just what that intervention might look like. Those are all really important things when we're thinking about getting help and getting started. So, some of the benefits of mentoring for therapists would be professional development. So, before you begin to work with animals, it's actually one of the first steps in our PAWS framework. It's prepare and plan. So, having a good plan in place and being prepared is super important when you're pairing OT clients together with an animal that you're bringing into the session. Now, clinical supervision is another benefit of mentoring, whether that's being a mentor or being mentored. Those are really important. So, if you're going to be taking on new clients or working with a new population or starting a new program, that clinical supervision is really important both for safety and for success. For personal growth, so a lot of us want to partner with animals so that way we have a sense of bringing a passion that we have into our work life. And certainly getting mentoring can foster that, but also being a mentor is really rewarding. We get a feeling that we're able to help someone else on their journey. So there's a lot of personal growth involved in mentoring. Again, whether that's you're the mentor or the mentee, on both sides there, that is a benefit. Now, in our professional network, the benefit of mentoring is support, right? So we don't feel so alone. And another benefit of mentoring can be increased job satisfaction and decreasing burnout. So the first benefit that I mentioned was professional development. And when we think about professional development, really it's gaining new set of skills and expanding our knowledge base. So when we think about how mentoring can help us gain new skills and expand our knowledge base, if we think back to my experience, right, my mentor was able to help me expand my skills with that particular client. And also, then my knowledge base, I understood why it worked, why changing his base of support and giving him more support really allowed him to benefit more from the movement, to be more functional, and then start to see that carry over into other settings. So, when we're first getting started and we're partnering with animals and we're thinking about what is that skill set I need, part of being prepared is getting experience, getting someone's eyes maybe on some of those first couple treatment sessions that we're doing, making sure that we have the knowledge base to understand the animal and animal behavior, any animal welfare issues that we're going to have in partnering with this animal, but then also understanding the knowledge base that we need to have with the client population that we're working with. So when we're thinking about mentoring, this component of getting continual education is really important. And there are formal continuing education, courses, types of things like that that you can participate in. But the mentoring piece is much more personal. It's much more individualized. And a lot of times, our mentor, when they're really tuned into us, they can kind of spot some of those maybe weakness areas that we really need to work on, that you're just not going to get that from a continuing education course where you might get a lot of the facts, but you're not necessarily going to get a lot of the feedback. Another benefit of mentoring is clinical supervision. So, if you're starting a position at a new job, it's really important that you have mentoring as part of that new position, especially again when we're partnering with animals. A lot of times, that clinical supervisor or mentor, they know the animals, they know the setting, they maybe even know some of the clients, and that can be so helpful. Now, we can also think about clinical supervision in a fieldwork setting. So we could be mentoring students who are going to be coming into the profession. So for this summer, we have 4 occupational therapy fieldwork students that will be working alongside us. They're going to be coming at different points throughout the summer, and we will be mentoring them both as beginning occupational therapy providers. So learning a lot of the basics about evaluation, intervention, treatment planning, and discharge requirements. And that will be the main focus for their level 1 fieldwork experience. But they're also going to get to see those animal interactions firsthand. They're going to see some of the goat groups that we're running. They'll see some of our treatment sessions where we're using hippotherapy. So they're going to get a lot of opportunities to see what it looks like when we're partnering with animals. And, as they ask questions, that's a component of that clinical supervision. So we're going to be looking at safety aspects when we're partnering with animals, how that can be part of a fieldwork experience, a new job, or even that post professional component when you just know that you need more support in that treatment setting. The third benefit I mentioned was personal growth. And when we are mentoring someone, it is a really big growth curve. There's a lot of self reflection involved. When I am mentoring someone, often I have to slow down and think, like, why did I do it this way? Or why would I recommend that they make this particular change in their treatment session? Or what am I seeing from the animals' interactions that either is beneficial or could be a risk? And there's a lot that goes into the mentor side of things in self reflection and looking at your own experiences and seeing if they apply to your mentee's situation. So, helping that mentee figure out through their own lens how things might work out, what are some of the benefits and risk factors. That's a huge component of personal growth. The other thing, if you haven't listened to the interview with Janet, certainly jump back and listen to that, because in that discussion, we also talk about personal growth. And when we're partnering with animals, there is a huge amount of personal growth that happens. Animals have a great way of humbling us, even when it's for our own good. It's something that's really needed. And they have a really great way of showing us maybe our weaknesses or our hubris or where we think we know things and we have a certain expectation. And animals have a really, really great way of pointing out that no, we don't know everything. No, it's not going to go the way that we think it's going to go. And something amazing can still happen. And that component of personal growth is really huge. Partnering with animals, there's also, end of life. And that animal maybe that we've worked with for a really long time that gets really sick or is no longer able to continue working or passes away, and being able to not only handle our own feelings with that, but then being able to guide others that are around us. So I know certainly some of the mentees that I have worked with, going through that experience with them and saying, how are you going to share this with your clients? How are you going to share this loss with your clients? And where is that professional boundary for you in what you feel comfortable sharing, and how are you going to let them know? So, the components of personal growth are really big when you are a mentor and you're thinking about, what is my clinical reasoning on this, or why did I do it this way? But also when you are receiving mentoring and you have to be able to take that feedback from your mentor and be able to say, like, oh, yeah, okay, I could do better, or I didn't even see that. And being able not to beat yourself up about it and know that that's why you're in that mentoring relationship, that your mentor is there to help facilitate your growth, and that you're both really receiving something out of that relationship. So, mentoring really can be mutually beneficial on both sides in facilitating personal growth and having you really gain a lot of insight into your perspective, into why you see things in a certain way, and how you're similar to your mentor and also how you're different from your mentor. Another benefit of mentoring is building a professional network. And it's important when we're partnering with animals that we do have a professional network around us. And that doesn't necessarily mean in the same facility, but people that we can reach out to. So when we are partnering with animals or we're integrating treatment strategies that are a little bit outside the box, it can be really isolating, and networking really can start to provide some emotional support. It can provide a sense of community for therapists who do feel isolated in their practice, especially if you're working in a rural area or a more remote area or just a very non-traditional area. It's often hard to find other therapists to connect to who understand and have kind of the same perspective about your treatment approach or treatment interventions that you might be using. So, when we build that professional network through mentoring, your mentor can connect you to other people who are working in the field. They can make introductions. So, if I was saying, well, I haven't ever worked with cows with my clients, but actually I do know a couple therapists who have. I can make that introduction. I can expand my mentees network that way. And also just sometimes coming together with everybody in community and saying, this has been a really hard week. We had two horses that were lame. We had strangles run through the barn. I mean, these are all things that I have experienced. And being able to sit down with some other therapists and going like, okay, what are we doing this week with our clients? Like, what is our plan A, B, and C? Because the plan that I would normally be using is definitely not available. There's so many things that come up when we're partnering with animals, from the welfare of the animals themselves to how are we going to help facilitate our clients moving towards their goals. And when we have a bigger professional network, we really have access to more evidence-based practice. So, someone would be like, oh yeah, I read an article about that, and I actually just shared an article with somebody, and I said, hey, if you don't have access to this article, let me know and I can get it for you, because she was interested in how clinical residents, so doctors, right, would possibly partner with animals. I said, I know of a great nursing study that was done with nursing students, and two cohorts of nursing students. One cohort of nursing students had a component of animal assisted therapy as part of their education, and they actually rated their experience with their nursing program much, much higher, and they had better completion rates to graduation. And so that was an opportunity in professional networking to say, like, hey, I have this article, I know of this, I've read this, I can share it with you if you can't get access to it. So when we are part of a mentoring relationship, we have access to a much bigger professional network. We learn about new developments in the field. Often people who are mentoring are at the forefront of their field. They're in connection with a lot of other people, and that's a great way to get new ideas, especially if you have been partnering with animals for a while and you're looking to up your skill level or to start a new program. That's a great way to do it. And you can learn a lot about what worked and what didn't work in that professional network place. But I think the biggest thing, certainly for me, always has been that sense of community and that sense of not feeling alone, because a lot of times this work can feel incredibly rewarding, but also can feel a bit lonely if you don't have someone to do a session debrief with right afterward. And it's great to have a professional network that you can come back to, that mentor, and say, hey, this is what we've been working on, this is where things are going, like, and get feedback from others, or even just commiseration sometimes of, oh, like, yeah, I've had that happen too. That's really hard. How's it going? The last benefit I'd like to talk about with you today is increased job satisfaction. And I've been reading more and more about OTs who are feeling really burnt out in the field, who are feeling like their practice doesn't represent what they thought it was going to be. It feels too confined. It feels not occupation based enough. It doesn't feel holistic and authentic. And when you enter into a mentoring relationship, when there's a mentoring community around you, there's a lot of opportunity to express your values and your belief about occupational therapy, and then align your interventions along those lines, along those values, along how you are going to partner with animals and bring in the ethics of it, the animal welfare, the safety, all of those components. So, when you are getting mentoring, you have improved job satisfaction, often through confidence in your skill set. And, when you feel confident in what you're doing, you feel like it's easier to stay at the job, to keep doing what you're doing, that you're able to get better or help others get better. Another example of how mentoring really affects job satisfaction is advocacy. And when you are talking to a mentor who's been down the road before, or you're in a mentoring group and you're hearing from other people what maybe is a standard of practice or best practice, it's much easier to go back to your setting or to your employer and say, look, this is really best practice. This is the way it should be done. I have, in my mentoring group, this is something we've been discussing. And we need to work on that here at our facility. And that advocacy and being able to stand up for what you know and believe is right is really important. I think that's one of the things a lot of times we get from going to a conference. We get those new ideas and we get that sense to come back and say, like, this is the direction I want to go with the clients that I'm working with, or this is something new I would like to bring in. So when you are in a mentoring group, you really have that opportunity to say, like, I'm connected with others in the field, and here's something that's really important. It's important that we're able to improve the way that we're providing services. It's important that we're able to watch out for animal welfare and to have a quiet space for the goats, or to have enough horses with medical quality movement to serve a variety of patients. So it can be really easy to burn out if you are doing it alone, or you feel like the staff around you doesn't really understand what you're doing, or the administration isn't listening to you. And when you are receiving mentoring, when you're part of that relationship, not only can you bring some of those challenges back to your mentor or mentoring group and get support, you can also then again go back and advocate. You can make changes. You can move along in your career path feeling a lot less stuck or having a lot less sticking points, because you can see the path that other people have taken. You can have discussion points along the way. And that can really improve, again, that job satisfaction, because you're not going to hit some of those same pitfalls or potholes, so to speak. If we're going down the road, and if you've ever used Waze before, it's an app for driving. And if you use it, it will have little highlights on it and it will say like pothole in the road, your road obstacle. And then, sometimes someone will note like pothole. Well, it's like, if I know that's coming, then great, I'm looking out for it and I know I'm going to go around it, right? I'm not going to hit that pothole. And it's the same with our career journey when we're in that mentoring group and other people are saying like, oh yeah, I've been there too. Hey, watch out. This often happens. Then you know that you can avoid it and you can have a much more satisfying experience not having to go through all of those challenges on your own, like step by step, and having to experience them all. You can make much bigger gains, both for yourself professionally as well as for your clients with that professional support, with that mentoring support. So, as I get ready to wrap up for today, I want to kind of pull this all together for you. So, for occupational therapists who want to work in the animal assisted therapy area or want to partner with animals, mentoring is really essential. And I would say that those benefits that we've been discussing, it's important that you have an opportunity to learn from experienced professionals. So, mentors are there to provide you with advice, guidance, and support based on our own experiences in the field. And it can help you on your journey gain insight into practical aspects of working with animals and the client population that you want to work with, as well as any ethical considerations that might be involved, both on the animal side as well as on the client side. Again, I'm going to bring back up that professional network. So it's great to be able to introduce occupational therapists to other professionals in the field. And that's not always other OTs. It might be PTs, it might be clinical social workers, it could be a variety of different professionals, but others who had experiences that might be useful to you. And the more we can collaborate together, have referrals, or support each other in continuing education, that can be a great way, again, to reduce that isolation. So when we are out there with our clients, we know that we kind of have a home to come back to. Mentoring can increase our confidence and our competence. So, through mentoring, we're gaining experience. So, we could actually be working alongside our mentor, we're observing them. We can build skills. In my case, where I was doing video mentoring, that was very helpful in having my mentor review the video and then go ahead and give me feedback. And I was able to improve my clinical skills as well as my client outcomes. And it really, as our skills improve, often our confidence and our competence improves, especially in that partnership with the animal and the client. It's great to go to a job that you feel good about and you feel like you're making a difference. So, mentoring can really help us as occupational therapists to feel supported, to feel valued, to be able to bring advocacy to our profession and really connected to what an occupational therapist is and does. And it's a great way to keep our spirits high when working with our clients. And I know that so many of the occupational therapy providers that I talk to, both from students in the OTA program all the way to clinicians who have been in the field for quite a long time, and really have a passion for bringing animals into the work, that this opportunity to receive mentoring, to work together, to have a network is so important to them, to really keeping them motivated to provide great occupational therapy, to serve their communities, and to feel like they're getting supported too. So, overall, mentoring is really an important way to gain knowledge, experience, and support as you navigate through some of the really unique things about bringing animals and clients together in occupational therapy. So, if you've enjoyed this episode, I would love it if you could share it with another occupational therapist that you know who is passionate about therapy, kind of outside the box. We're excited to help other OTs expand their skills, learn, grow, and have a supportive community. If you're interested in mentoring, be sure to connect with me on Facebook or Instagram. Thanks for listening.